So I wanted to talk about how can God be three in one? Um, the whole like thing about the Trinity. And actually it's really interesting to me because that's like the one thing that always made sense to me. And seems to be the thing that trips up a lot of people. So, um I kind of have to reference some topics I've covered in other videos, but essentially, if you recognize that God is not in our universe, other than the ways in which he's breached into our universe, or two specific dimensions within our universe. You understand that you have the universe and then you have phased dimensions in that universe. I want to say current scientific understanding is like the theory is like 11, um that there are 11 concurrent phases of dimensions overlapping each other in our universe. And so there are things and dimensions that have a presence in this physical realm, but we don't see it in this physical realm because it's pinpointed in a different phase. I watched a lot of Star Trek growing up, and so um, to me, this all like made a lot of sense, I guess. So, for example, in the Bible, they'll talk about mountains being the place of gods. So, God Yahweh has his own mountain, and then like other mountains would be like other gods. Those other gods would have been, and this comes from like Dr. Michael Heiser. He refers to it as divine council. So when God was originally setting up Eden, originally setting up this world, he gave, just as he gave Adam dominion over like the earth, the plants, the animals, and everything like that, there's a layer above Adam of the angelic beings who are not in this physical realm dimension, but they can impact this physical realm dimension, and they have things over which they have authority and dominion. And so the whole thing with the Bible is that the serpent who is coiled around a tree, oh, I don't know if I want to talk about that. We'll get to that. Okay, so the angels misused their dominion over the people, and that's why God rejected them. So a lot of the like fallen angels in the Christian theology are these angels that were set up as sort of like little g gods that misuse their power over mankind to get mankind to do things that were not okay for them to do. And the reason why they did that is because they wanted worship the way that everyone was supposed to be worshiping God. When you put the worship in the wrong direction, uh, you are giving, you are giving, how do I put it? You are giving spiritual energy and personal power to that entity. Whereas when you give it to God, it like it's um replenishing. So the angels get cut off from God, and they now need the worship from human beings, the sacrifices from human beings to sustain their power because they're not getting it from God anymore, other than what they had already gotten for being angels in the angelic realm. This is why, by the way, they end up going in the lake of fire after the 1,000-year millennial reign, because they have the powers they've been given. God cannot take them away because once he speaks it, it exists. But at the same time, like you can't have them running around with those powers and being immortal and being evil, misusing their power over people. So they get to go to the lake of fire. Now, the mountains exist in the physical realm as actual mountains and in another phased dimension as that angelic being. So it manifests in the physical realm in a different way than what we understand like an angel to be. There are also people that think that trees, when they talk about like the cedars of Lebanon or something, that trees can also represent angels. And I would say in like a similar way, where it's in this physical realm, the existence, but it's also that is the physical manifestation of like the interdimensional reality that the angel, fallen angel, or whatever, um, is existing in both. So the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, potentially an angel, angelic being, and that was their That was their existence in the physical realm, maybe represented as a tree. But what they were doing was giving knowledge and information of good and evil to people, maybe when they weren't supposed to. Um, okay, hold on. Oh yeah, so we have the multiple dimensions. It's like when you realize that God is outside of the entire universe, outside of all of the dimensions, but he has to be present in the dimensions in some way. It's like, how do you do that? So he does it by the word being with God, and the word was God, that language, and then the word exists in this realm as the Bible. So the word as the Bible existing in the physical realm, which is the only realm that has the ability to change and to make choices, because the physical realm is the realm that exists in time. So it's not just that you can uh touch see and touch something. It's that you can make decisions about it or yourself, and therefore change things. That's why Adam and Eve get dominion over the earth and the animals, and they have a lot of power in this physical realm dimension because they have the ability to make decisions that change things in the realm of time, that therefore can get a different outcome. That's why human beings have that power. Angels do not exist in the realm of time, even though they intersect with the realm of time. So anyway, the Bible. So that's one way that God has reached into this dimension. And then Jesus, obviously, being both man and God, so existing interdimensionally as a human being and also as God, but not operating in this realm in his God powers, because he had to do the human being thing, living the perfect life, dying the perfect death, never forsaking or cursing God, never making any mistakes, so that when he is murdered, he is a completely innocent person. And that's why he holds the keys to death and Hades, because he was killed absolutely wrongly. He was completely innocent. Okay. And then there's like the Holy Spirit. And then there's Yahweh sitting in his throne in heaven. Now, is the throne in heaven that place that's outside the universe? I don't know. I don't know about that. It could be, it could not be. I'm not like it's, the Bible's really interesting. In my opinion, it's discussing science topics, but from a perspective that's not science. So I don't know that it answers that. It might. I'll have to look. I might discover something more as I continue to like read. So anyway, the example I usually give people is if you have water and then you put your fingers into the water, it's going to look like 1, 2, 3 points in the water. But if you don't put your whole hand in, it looks like 5 separate individual little things. But in reality, it's a whole hand. It's a dimensional thing. There is a whole hand. There's 5 fingers, but the 5 fingers are one hand. That's how God is 3 in 1. So there's this a story. It's called Flatland. It's about a science fiction story. It's about two-dimensional creatures that are impacted by somebody who's in the third dimension. And all it is you just see something appear in front of you. So if it's like you're an ant, and if someone puts their finger in front of you, all you see is the intersection of the finger and like, let's say, the point at which the finger is. The ants don't see a 3-dimensional finger. They just see like this thing that's blocking them. And it's like a point or a line they can't get past. So the first dimension is usually represented as a point, the second dimension as a line, the third dimension as, like 3 dimensions. The fourth dimension is usually like this object that moves through time. And then you have more and more dimensions on top of it. And the dimensions are co-occurring, phasing on top of each other. They all exist in the same place. However, things don't manifest into every dimension in a way that everybody in that dimension can see it. The only one who could see it from all the dimensions would be somebody either outside all the dimensions or at like maybe the higher dimension. So that's why God knows the beginning from the end, because as far as God's concerned, it's already occurred. God does not exist in time. So God sees the beginning from the end. That's how things can be both predestined and you get a choice. because you get a choice because you live within time and you can make the choice, but it's also predestined because God knows the choices that you're going to make and also can influence those choices by giving angels instructions and giving human beings instructions through the Holy Spirit. Anyway, ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of information for 10 minutes. Hopefully it's not confusing. Again, there's this episode of Star Trek I always think about, which is Data. No, I'm sorry, Geordi and the Bajoran lady whose name I don't remember at the moment. They accidentally get phased into another dimension via accidental like explosion of Romulan cloaking technology. And so they're on the Enterprise, but no one can see them. But they can kind of like influence things if they focus really hard. There's this one point at which, oh, it's Ensign Ro, and she like goes through the deck and then like Jordy has to get her out. And so to me, this is exactly kind of like what this is talking about. You coexist, but the dimensionality is phased and it looks different. And we even have that process happening, for us in the real world, not the physical world. There's light waves that we can't see that we know exist. Animals with certain types of eye structures and forms can see like those lights, but it's not visible to the human eye. So the whole spectrum of light, we cannot perceive the whole spectrum of light the way that some other animals can, but that doesn't mean that spectrum isn't there. So we're seeing something very particular. Also, like if you thinking of light, if you think about like, okay, color, what the color that we see is literally the color that the thing is not. This color is what it's scattering that frequency of light is not absorbing that frequency of light. And so then we go, oh, okay, that's what this color is blue, right? In reality, this color is blue. This is the color of what like scatters the frequency that we correlate to blue. So it's almost as if it's like everything but the color blue, but the color blue is what we see. And if you have different eye structures, you like an animal might see this in a different way. And human beings have made great strides to see those things. Like we have like the night vision or the thermal, or we're looking for the infrared or whatever. So we make machines to see the things that we can't see with our natural human eyes. But we know that those other light frequencies exist on the spectrum just because we can't see it. They're still present. Other things can see it, but we can't see it. So I think that's like a pretty good representation of the spiritual realm. Yeah, hope this makes sense. And I will talk to you next time.